You want to create a scene? Blow some corporate shit up? Well, Maxx Nitro at your service. I'm known on the street as a specialist. The other day, me and the crew reverse engineer an info mech and busted up the Cogware boiler monopoly. Booyah! Keep that on the down low. They're listening. They're always listening. If this kind of thing makes you edgy, well, there's the door. Got no time for second guesses and even less for tattletales. The bloody corpse and their systems, that's what's wrong with this city. Watch out, Iron Assembly, Cogwares, and Techlo Industries. I'm heading your way, and I got a taste for destruction.
Today we will be looking at Maxx the Hype Nitro. If you need a flesh and blood, I strongly suggest watching my Learn to Play video or visit FABTCG.com for additional information. Link in the description. All topics have their own timestamp for your convenience, so feel free to jump ahead to the section you need. I will be covering a wide range of cards in this video. Not all of them will fit neatly in one specific deck list, but my goal is to leave room for exploration across different archetypes. Maxx was first introduced in Bright Lights in October 2023, then received his own Armory deck in April 2025. You can find Armory deck gameplay linked in the description. Maxx doesn't just floor it, he rewires the throttle. Hyperdrivers fuel raw power, launching you into overdrive while keeping your edge razor sharp against the corp overlords. Let's have a look at his hero ability. Once per turn action. For 2 resources, create a Hyperdriver token with 2 steam counters. Activate this ability only if you've boosted this turn. Hyperdrivers you control get crank. Okay, there is a little bit to unpack here. First, what is a Hyperdriver token? The Hyperdriver token is a Mechanologist token item. The first part says, when this has no steam counters, destroy it. The effect that creates a Hyperdriver token specifies how many steam counters it enters the arena with. Looking at Maxx's hero ability, these will come with 2 steam counters. And the second part mentions, once per turn when you boost a card, remove a steam counter from this and gain 1 resource. Boost is a Mechanologist mechanic that allows a Mechanologist attack action card to gain Go Again. As an additional cost to play an attack action with Boost, you may banish the top card of your deck. If it's a Mechanologist card, it gains Go Again. Boost is an additional cost. You choose if you want to boost or not at the time you play the card. You are considered to have boosted regardless of whether the boost was successful or not. His hero card also mentions, Hyperdrivers you control get crank. Bright Lights introduced a few new mechanics and card types, one of them being crank. When an item with crank enters the arena, you may remove a steam counter from it. If you do, gain an action point. Important to note, Maxx's ability doesn't have Go Again, but since Hyperdrivers you control have crank, you can either remove a steam counter from the Hyperdriver token created to gain an action point. Alternatively, you can decide not to crank and move to the end step. Due to the natural efficiency of boost attacks, Maxx can maintain a low to the ground curve. Despite his reckless appearance, Maxx excels at managing resources across turns. Mastering when and how to utilize your pitch is crucial to unlocking his full potential. Unlike most Mechanologists who shy away from expensive boost attacks, Maxx can seamlessly integrate them into his turn cycles. As you journey with Maxx, you'll have access to both the Mechanologist and generic card pools. However, you'll likely find yourself relying primarily on Mechanologist cards. There are a few weapon choices when playing Maxx, but today I want to mainly focus on his signature weapon and specialization, Banksy. Once per turn action. For 1 resource, attack. Activate this ability only if you've cranked this turn. When this hits a hero, put a steam counter on an item you control with crank. This is great. It can replenish a steam counter from a Hyperdriver we control. Not ready to fully commit to Maxx or his Armory deck just yet? Here are some budget equipment that can be used with this hero. Achilles Accelerator. For starters, it has built-in Arcane Barrier 1. This will be useful against heroes that deals arcane damage, such as Wizards, Runeblades, and Illusionists. Secondly, at instant speed, you can destroy the Achilles Accelerators to gain an action point, but only if you boosted this turn. Other budget equipment, we have the Galvanic Bender. This equipment blocks for 1. Being a battle-worn equipment, this will not be destroyed once the block value has been used. Additionally, it says material. While this is under a permanent, that permanent has +1 attack power. This last part is relevant for Maxx's game plan. I'll come back to the material keyword a little later in this video. Viziertronic Model I is not used as frequently, but the built-in Arcane Barrier 2 can be key when your opponent is a wizard. The action effect can be useful, but Maxx players will typically never destroy this equipment and choose to only use it for Arcane Barrier. Lastly, there's Cogworks and Teklo base equipment. Cogworks don't provide any block but come with unique abilities, while Teklo blocks for 1. What makes them particularly interesting is their type, their base equipment, which is essential for playing Evo equipment cards. There are some interesting Evo equipment pieces that synergize with Maxx. For more on this, check the Evo equipment section of this video.
Let's first have a look at some boost cards that Maxx can use.
0 to 60, Zipper Hit, and Throttle are all simple but efficient. They are the bread and butter of most mechanologist decks. These come in all pitch colors. Other good options are cards that can opt, such as Data Link, Dive Through Data, and Zoom In. The first two have on-hit triggers, while Zoom In triggers on attack. For Zoom In, the number of cards you opt depends on how many times you've boosted during the current combat chain. These can be quite helpful in either setting up Hyperdriver banishes or manipulating the cards you may draw up for your next turn. Then we have Crankshaft and Big Bertha, which says Boost. When this is banished from boosting, put a steam counter on a Hyperdriver you control. These serves a very particular purpose, as you rarely want to play them, but rather banish them from the boost mechanic. On the other hand, we have Jumpstart and Rev Up. If you control a Hyperdriver, this costs 1 resource less to play. Being able to play cards at a discount price? Sign me up! Next, we have Fast and Furious. If you've cranked this turn, this gets +1 attack power. When this is banished from boosting, put a steam counter on an item you control with Crank. This one has a lot of synergies with Maxx, but at time of recording, this is a -IO Armory deck exclusive card. Heist. When this hits a hero, you may put an item with cost 0 or 1 from any banished zone into the arena under your control. Now this one is very interesting. If this hits a hero, you can fetch one of your Hyperdriver items in your banished zone, but note, this can be from your opponent's banished zone as well as it mentions from any banished zone. One that hasn't seen much play but may fit well in a weapon-centric build is Pedal to the Metal. If Pedal to the Metal hits, your next attack this turn gains Dominate. What makes this one unique is that it can grant Dominate to any type of attack, including your weapon. Plus, it doesn't need to be on the same combat chain. Lastly, we have Steel Street Hoons. Bright Lights introduced a few new mechanics and card types, one of them being Galvanize. Galvanize is an ability label keyword. When a card with Galvanize defends, you may destroy an item you control. If you do, it gains a certain amount of block value. Steel Street Hoons says, if an item you control has been destroyed this turn, this gets +2 attack power. Galvanize. When this defends, you may destroy an item you control. If you do, this gets +2 defense. This is a decent all-rounder card. In a pinch, it can block for 4 with Galvanize, can be pitched or attack if you have excess resources. There are a ton of great boost cards available for Maxx, such as Twin Drive and Pulsewave Harpoon. If you want to learn more about these two cards, I will add a link to my -IO Learn to Play with relevant timestamps in the description.
Maxx can generate Hyperdriver tokens, but they aren't limited to tokens. They can also begin as playable cards in your deck.
The Hyperdriver is an action item for 1 resource. It enters the arena with 3 steam counters in red, 2 in yellow, and 1 in blue. The main difference between the Hyperdriver generated from Maxx's ability and this one is its type. One is a token, and the other is an action item. If a Hyperdriver token would be put into any zone outside the arena, for example the graveyard or banished zone, it ceases to exist and is removed from the game. The action item, however, will be sent to the graveyard once it's used up, or it can be banished through boosting or other abilities. Then we have the Armory deck exclusive Clamp Press, Crank. This enters the arena with 2 steam counters. At the start of your turn, destroy this unless you remove a steam counter from it. Wrenches you control get +2 attack power. Giving extra power to your signature wrench weapon is great, but this is a 2-cost item and unfortunately can't be targeted by Heist's on-hit effect. There are a few other items that could potentially fit with Maxx. Make sure to experiment.
Let's look at some attack action card that doesn't include the boost keyword.
Hyper Scrapper. As an additional cost to play this, banish X items from your graveyard. When this attacks, it gets +X attack power. If 3 or more hyperdrivers were banished to play this, gain 6 resources and this gets go again. This card synergizes quite well if you plan on having non-token hyperdrivers in deck. One way to utilize these extra resources is by playing cards like Moonshot. On its own, it's not very impressive. But if you can manage to stack up a lot of hyperdrivers, this can be very strong. Play this only if you've boosted this turn. As an additional cost to play this, destroy X hyperdrivers you control. When this attacks, it gets +3 attack power for each hyperdriver destroyed this way. If this has 10 or more attack power, it gets Overpower. Overpower means your opponent can't defend this with more than one action card. A few things to note about this card. You choose the value of X when you play this card. The cost to play this is twice the value of X. For example, if X is 2, you will need to pitch 4 resources. You must be able to destroy X hyperdrivers you control. If you do not control X hyperdrivers for the chosen value of X, you cannot play this. Combining Hyper Scrapper and Moonshot can create a fun combo. Suppose I have 3 hyperdrivers in play, each with 2 or more steam counters, and another 3 hyperdrivers in my graveyard. I play and boost a 0 to 60. Note, any 0-cost boost card can work here. This will give me 3 resources for the hyperdrivers I'm controlling. With the 3 resources, I'll play Hyper Scrapper. X being 3. I'll banish 3 hyperdrivers from my graveyard. Hyper Scrapper gains +3 and go again. Additionally, I gain 6 resources. With the 6 resources, I will play Moonshot. X will be 3, then I destroy the 3 hyperdrivers I control. Moonshot will gain +9 attack power, bringing it to 12. Since its attack power is above 10, it gains Overpower. Both Hyper Scrapper and Moonshot fits a more mid-range plan and will require a bit of patience and setup. If you rather rely on the boost mechanic, we have the classic Maximum Velocity. Maximum Velocity can only be played if you've boosted 3 or more times this turn. You must meet this condition to play it. Resources from multiple hyperdrivers can help you boost more consistently. Since it checks for boost this turn rather than this combat chain, you can still play Maximum Velocity even if the combat chain has been closed.
Construct is a subtype keyword first introduced in the supplementary set Dynasty in November 2022. The first card with this keyword was the powerhouse known as Nitro Mechanoid.
Construct's resolve flipped as a permanent in the arena. The card face with the subtype Construct is considered the front face for a double-faced card. Construct Nitro Mechanoid. Transform target mechanologist's head, chest, arms, legs, weapon, and 3 hyperdrivers you control into Nitro Mechanoid. If you don't, negate this. Put them under Nitro Mechanoid. If you don't, put this in the graveyard. Go again. Once on its transform side, action. Banish a card from under Nitro Mechanoid. Attack with Overpower. It also has Temper 5. If we look back at our budget equipments, Galvanic Bender was mentioned. It says Material. While this is under a permanent, that permanent has +1 attack power. Once this is placed under the Nitro Mechanoid, it grants +1 attack power each time you attack with it, unless it's removed. Ideally, this should be the last card you remove. Next, we have the Armory exclusive Construct Bankbreaker. If you have a wrench weapon equipped, transform it, and 3 hyperdrivers you control into Bankbreaker, then equip Bankbreaker. Go again. Once transformed, it says, twice per turn action, for 1 resource attack. Activate this only if you've cranked this turn. When this attacks, you may banish a card from under it. If you do, the attack gets Overpower and go again. Both constructs can be included in the same deck. However, keep in mind that once you transform into the Nitro Mechanoid, you can no longer transform into the Bankbreaker, as Nitro Mechanoid is not a wrench weapon. That said, transforming from Bank Breaker into Nitro Mechanoid still works.
The next one is not exactly a keyword, but a card type, called Evo Equipment.
These are unique as they are deck cards. They are considered both an action or instant and an equipment for the purposes of rules and effects. They can be included in your deck at the start of the game, but you cannot start the game with them equipped. This card type is mainly used by Techlovossen, but there are some interesting Evo equipment pieces that synergizes with Maxx, such as weapon-centric, damage prevention, disruption, and so much more. The Evo Breaker series are instant and synergizes with your hyperdrivers and the boost mechanic. The first part is included on each Evos of that series. If you have a base equipped, transform it and X hyperdrivers you control into this. Then equip this. If you do, the next time you would be dealt damage this turn, prevent twice X of that damage. The second part highlights what sets them apart. Circuit Breaker. Whenever you boost, you may destroy a card under this. This would be the initial base equipment. If you do, shuffle 2 attack action cards from your banished zone into your deck. Atom Breaker. Gain 2 resources. Face Breaker. The attack gets +2 attack power. And Mock Breaker, if you do, create a Quicken token. The Quicken token says, when you play an attack action card or attack with a weapon, destroy Quicken, then the attack gains go again.
Evos can offer a lot of deck building possibilities, but I wouldn't recommend including too many. If you decide to add Evos to your deck, focus on the ones that best complement your own strategy. For more information on Evo equipment cards, I suggest checking out the Rules Reprise number 17, Bright Lights. Link will be in the description. Maxx also has access to powerful non-attack action cards that works well with his hyperdrivers. Let's look at a few.
Recharge. Put a steam counter on a hyperdriver you control. The next attack you boost this turn gets +4 attack power in red, 3 in yellow, and 2 in blue. Go again. This is fantastic, as it keeps one of your hyperdrivers on board for an extra turn. Gas Up is similar to Recharge, but instead of adding a steam counter on a hyperdriver you control, you may put a hyperdriver from your banished zone into the arena. Maxx's hero ability grants crank to all hyperdrivers, which can potentially earn you an action point. Then we have the Maxx Armory deck exclusive Twin Tech charging station. The next attack you boost this turn gets +3 attack power. You may shuffle a hyperdriver from graveyard into your deck. If you do, gain 1 resource, go again. This is a decent recursion piece that pumps your next boosted attack and nets you a resource. Lastly, we have Supercell. Put X steam counters on X target hyperdrivers you control. Create a hyperdriver token with X steam counters. If X is 3 or greater, you may shuffle a Construct Nitro Mechanoid from your banished zone into your deck. A few notes on this one. You must have a target to play Supercell for any X cost. For example, you cannot play Supercell with X equals 4 if there are not at least 4 hyperdriver targets. Each targeted hyperdriver will gain X steam counters. If X equals 3, you will add 3 counters to each hyperdriver for a total of 9 counters. This card is simply Chef's Kiss. Loading up your hyperdrivers with steam counters is already great, but the potential to bring back a banished Nitro Mechanoid? That's just incredible. Note, you can give this go again by cranking the hyperdriver token created from this.
Considering getting his Armory deck? Let's look at the equipment suite included.
The following synergizes with non-token hyperdrivers. Puffer Jacket. Non-token hyperdrivers you control enter the arena with an additional steam counter. Stuck with an unwanted hyperdriver in hand? No problem! When you play and crank your hyperdriver, you get the steam counter back with this equipment. It also has Temper 2. The next 2 care about hyperdrivers being banished from boost. Fist Pump. Whenever you banish a hyperdriver from boosting, target wrench you control gets +1 attack power this turn. And Drive Break. Whenever you banish a hyperdriver from boosting, remove a -1 defense counter from this. This one can be used early to gain value each time you banish a hyperdriver. Lastly, we have Breaker Helm Protos. When this defends, you may discard a hyperdriver. If you do, draw a card, and this gets +1 defense. Great for hand fixing, and if you ditch a hyperdriver, it blocks for 2, meaning it won't break the first time it's used. Additionally, what makes this piece even more interesting, it is a base equipment, meaning you could use this one and before it breaks, equip an Evo upgrade.
Looking for other equipment options for Maxx? Here are a short list to consider.
Teklo Foundry Heart, once per turn action. For 1 resource, banish the top 2 cards of your deck. Gain 1 resource for each Mechanologist card banished this way. Activate this ability only if you have boosted this turn. Go again. Important to note that this action does not count as boost, meaning hyperdrivers banished this way won't trigger abilities on Fist Pump and Drive Break. Adaptive Plating and Adaptive Dissolver are unique due to their modular nature, allowing them to be equipped in any equipment zone. One provides Galvanize 2 while the other offers Arcane Barrier 1. Additionally, Adaptive Dissolver is a base equipment, meaning Evos can be played over it. HyperX 3. Whenever you banish a hyperdriver from boosting, put it under this. Once per turn, when a hyperdriver is put under this, if there are 3 or more hyperdrivers under this, draw a card. This one is interesting, especially in Nitro Mechanoid builds, but doesn't synergize with plans that revolves around hyperdriver recursion. For example, Heist and Gas Up, but will have a home in other plans.
The Mechanologist class has a fairly deep card pool that supports a variety of playstyles. I included a few of my own deck lists along with some of other players in the description for you to explore. Just a heads up, at time of recording this, High Octane is banned, and there aren't many refined Maxx lists out there just yet. These are just 3 early concepts, but hopefully they'll help you find a solid starting point.
Maxx is a versatile hero who can be built in various ways, whether focused on pure aggression, combo strategies, or a more mid-range approach. Typically, he aims to start with a 0-cost boost to activate his hero ability. From there, his next move depends on the chosen playstyle. He might continue to pressure with high-cost attacks, activate his hero ability and swing with Banksy, or pass the turn after creating a hyperdriver to set up a powerful combo. For this plan, we aim on recurring our hyperdrivers and cheat extra action points in the process. The Armory deck equipment really shines in this version as it synergizes with hyperdrivers being played and banished. Key cards to include are our main recursion pieces with Gas Up and Heist, efficient 0-cost boost starters such as 0 to 60, non-token hyperdrivers, and payoffs such as Moonshot and Construct Bankbreaker. In this playstyle, in a classic constructed 80 card list, you will need the Maxx Armory deck equipment suite. Around 14 to 16 blues, 9 hyperdrivers, 6 to 9 Gas Up, 34 to 40 boost cards, and the rest with your payoffs and payoff enablers. The primary goal of this plan is to make our Banksy as difficult and frustrating to block as possible. Key cards to include are non-token hyperdrivers, clamp press, and attack actions that synergizes with your weapons such as Pedal to the Metal. You'll also want pump actions that boost either your attack actions or your weapon, like Gigawatt, along with powerful late-game finishers like Hyper Scrapper and Moonshot. For this playstyle, you'll want to run 3 copies of Clamp Press, around 3 to 9 hyperdrivers, 9 to 12 cards that make blocking your weapon difficult, 38 to 44 boost cards, and fill the remaining slots with your payoffs and their enablers. On the other side of the coin, we have a plan that revolves around the Construct Nitro Mechanoid. Our strategy focuses on accumulating hyperdrivers and maintaining them on the board for as long as possible. Cards like Recharge, Crankshaft, and Big Bertha that help replenish hyperdriver steam counters synergize well with this game plan. The goal is to trade efficiently and ultimately transform into Nitro Mechanoid. However, if games end too quickly, we can forgo Nitro Mechanoid and instead focus on efficient boost attacks alongside Clamp Press and Banksy. In this playstyle, you will need around 14 to 18 blues, 9 to 14 cards to replenish hyperdrivers, 40 to 46 boost cards, and the rest with your payoffs and payoff enablers.
Alright, you should be all set to give Maxx a go. For a quick refresher, check out his depth download on the FABTCG website. I left a link in the description. If you liked this video, make sure to give us a like, share, and subscribe. This was Jackie for the Fab Workshop. See you next time, and thanks for watching.